Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here. Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, my plan is to spend the entire first half of this game with you guys tonight. Part of the reason why I was so late is I can't get Amazon Prime to work for some reason. I don't know what was going on, why it wouldn't work. But I don't know if it was just me, what was going on, but Amazon Prime would not pull up to save my life. But anyway, I digress. We're going to watch this game, and we're going to do the Commanders Nightly News simultaneously. So I'll be here with you guys through the entire first half. Then I'll let you watch the second half in peace. But in any event, I watched the Bears prior to the bye, right? So I watched them versus the Raiders in week number 4. I watched them against Dallas in week 3. Watched them the first 2 weeks of the season. I am not impressed with this football team. As a matter of fact, I thought they were more impressive in our game last year going into that contest than they are this year. In terms of their defense is not better. I think we can move the football with relative ease as long as we don't do anything stupid. Penalties, turnovers. I will say Kevin Byard is playing at a much higher level. He looks like the old Kevin Byard, the one that was in Tennessee that was capable of taking the ball away. He's got 4 interceptions already on this young season, 2 of which came in the game versus the Raiders and Geno Smith. Everybody picks off Geno Smith except us, right? But anyway, so they do take the ball away. The Bears are an opportunistic defense. If you make mistakes, they will make you pay. They picked Dak Prescott off twice in that game, and he's been exceptional this season. He's only thrown 3 interceptions. 2 of them came in that Bears game. Obviously, one of them tipped off the hands of George Pickens. That's nor here nor there. They make plays on the football, but outside of that, and they've been really good on third downs defensively. We'll get to that when we get to behind enemy lines a little bit later on in the show. But outside of those 2 things, I'm really not that impressed with the Bears this season. Like, they don't really move the needle for me. Ben Johnson has come in, and I think he has instilled confidence in Caleb Williams. Williams looks a lot more comfortable than he ever did at any point last year to me. However, it doesn't change the fact that he's still erratic. His feet are getting better because he's more comfortable in the pocket because he has better protection. But you can beat this offensive line. It's not a great offensive line. They've had some injuries too, but for the most part, their offensive line is healthy enough to be operating at a high level. They're just not a great offensive line. They haven't run the football well. They ran the ball to me better last year. The screen game for them was better last year. I just think overall, as a football team, they were better last year going into our week 6 matchup. What was it? Week 6 last year? I think it was week 7 last year. Either way, I thought they were a better team last year going into the game against them last season. I do not feel that way. I think it was week 8 last year because then we played the Giants afterwards, and then we would hit the 3-game losing streak. So ultimately, I don't see a team that, if we play our game, if the Commanders go out there and execute, right? If we do the things that I know this team is fully capable of doing, I don't see any reason why we can't win this game and win it handily, right? Like, I always keep it a buck with you when we talk about the opponents that we have coming up on the schedule and, what I expect from these opponents and what kind of game I think it's going to be. I told you last week, I thought it was going to be a tough game. And I was nervous about the Chargers. That's a good football team. And they were off to a 10-0 start against us. And it could have got dark for us real quick without the Quan Martin forced fumble. But nonetheless, we were able to overcome that slow start, and, ultimately rattle off 27 unanswered and win that game. But that was a good football team. I've talked about the simple fact that Jackson Dart over here about to throw a pick that damn quick. Like, what are you doing, guy? Can't force it to Theo. He loved throwing the ball to Theo Johnson. My goodness, today. You can't force it to him. Jeez Louise, you better be lucky Jalix Hunt can't catch. So I just look at this team and I see so many areas where they struggle. They're inconsistent. They to me, I'll just say it like this. They play a sloppy brand of football, do the Chicago Bears. They make a lot of mistakes pre-snap penalty-wise. I think they're one of the worst teams in the league pre-snap penalty-wise. They constantly find themselves behind the sticks. Now, Caleb Williams is dangerous, you know, with his mobility, his ability to extend. He's slippery, all of those things. But he'll also take sacks. He'll run into sacks. He'll throw from different platforms, and a lot of times it'll cause inaccuracies. So if you can get him off the spot, this offense doesn't function at a high level. If he's able to get back there, get settled, he can rip it. We know that. They've got weapons all over the football field. I just feel like this is a really dart up top. Oh, my God. Little Jordan Humphrey. Okay. Wowzers. The Eagles, the defense, man. Oh, my gosh. Keely Ringo stinks. He mossed right on him. He just threw that thing up for grabs. That's a good catch, though. Okay, so they're looking to get them points right back. Let's see if they, don't turn it over. They're going to get a nice, healthy dose of Cam Scatterbo tonight. So, anyway, I digress. I just like our chances in this game. We go out, we do the things that we know we're capable of doing. We don't make mistakes. We make them earn it. And that's what Joe Wick talked about at his press conference today. We're going to talk about what he said at his presser today. But if we make them earn it, I like our chances in this game. Big time. Big time. All right. So let's go ahead and transition to in other news, where we're going to talk about what was said. Coordinator Thursday. You know I love Coordinator Thursday. So we heard from both Joe Witt Jr. and Cliff Kingsbury. So we'll talk about what was said. Before we do that, though, the injury reports, the first of the week, were released today. So I don't know what the Bears are doing. I'm going to show you something that's pretty interesting about their injury report this week. But I digress. Let's get to the good guys and their injury report. And this is a very non-threatening injury report. It's one of the better ones we've seen in about roughly a month. Jackson Dart, I swear I wanted to have him a rushing touchdown tonight, and they would not let me take a Jackson Dart rushing touchdown. But I did take his rush yards because he is going to run for about 50 yards tonight. So that is going to happen. Come on, Giants! Come on, Giants! Come on, Giants. You can do it. You can do it. Anyway, I digress. This is one of the most non-threatening injury reports that we've seen in about a month. Terry, we know he's not going to play, right? We kind of figured that out yesterday based off of what Dan Quinn told us at his initial press conference. But Chris Rodriguez Jr. with the calf, I'm not really concerned. This is the equivalent of a Wednesday, right? So if you're not going to practice on a Wednesday, that's what today serves as for the normal work week. But technically, we practiced yesterday. All right. Technically, we practiced yesterday. So for all intents and purposes, this is a Friday for us. And I wonder how they're going to handle this week, because DQ says he wants to keep it as normal as possible. I'm assuming that they're going to practice tomorrow and Saturday, right? You're not going to waste a day. But, maybe Saturday will be a walkthrough like it normally is. They won't change anything up. And then Sunday, they'll just rest. I don't know. I guess another walkthrough, right? I don't know how they're going to handle it. But I think Chris Rodriguez Jr. is fine. I don't think it's anything serious here with his calf. Debo, rest, right? Vet rest day. Nothing to see here. He did have the heel last week, but I don't think it's anything. We saw how well he played on Sunday, so I don't think we need to be concerned about that. John Bates, shoulder limited, right? Look, I think he's going to be fine. Nothing to see here. Noah Brown, going to take it easy with him. I think he's still on track to play, but good to see him back on the practice field for a second consecutive day, right? Even if in a limited capacity. And then Sam Cosmi and Jaden Daniels, both full participants. Again, Cosmi still feels like next week based off of what DQ said earlier in the week. The way he phrased it, he's on scout team. They're working him in. Sounds like they're going to give him the full ramp up period. They're not going to rush him. The offensive line is playing, relatively well. So there's no need to necessarily rush him back. So I think they're going to take the full 21-day allotment, which is what I assume they would do once he didn't get back for week 1, or at least the cutoff for IR to start the season. So once he started the season on PUP list, I felt like Dallas would be it. I think that's what he's trending towards being ready to come back. Jaden, again, on the injury report, and probably will remain there until he's no longer wearing a knee brace, right? So that's again, this is as 7 guys on this thing, and of the 7 guys that are here, 6 of them feel non-threatening. The only one that I feel like is a legit guy that's not going to play is Terry McLaurin. Until Chris Rodriguez can't go, he feels like a guy that's going to be limited tomorrow and a full participant by Saturday, right? And so will the rest of these guys, in my estimation. Now, again, Cosmi may not play in this game. Doesn't feel like he's going to play in this game, but he's fine, right? So you go from the good guys to the ops. And so you look at this list, and I want to point this out before I even go through any of the designations here. Look at the very bottom. There's an asterisk, and it says, the Bears did not practice on Thursday. Participation is an estimation, because you have to give an injury report 3 days prior to the game, right? Excuse me, not 3 days. You have to give a injury designation 4 days prior to the game, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the game is Monday. So what am I saying? 5 days, because normally a normal week would be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then the game Sunday. So you have to give an injury designation starting 5 days out from the game, and then ending all the way up to the 3-day mark is your last one that you have to give. Then there's a day in between, and then there's the day of the game, right? So I'm shocked that the Bears aren't practicing today. Like, that's kind of interesting. You're coming off of a bye. It's Thursday of a game week. Yeah, I get it. You play on Monday, but I am absolutely shocked that they're not practicing today. Okay, Giants defense. Really, really intrigued by the fact that they didn't practice today. So none of this really matters because they didn't practice today. So all this is stating is that if they did practice, this is what it would have looked like. There are some really pivotal names up here that we will pay attention to throughout the course of this week to see and chart whether these guys are on track to play or not. Like Darnell Wright is their starting right tackle. He did not play in the game versus the Raiders prior to the bye, so he could still be somewhat bad. Okay, Burns. And I wanted to take him for a sack tonight because this offensive line of the Eagles been ass-tastic this year. I really wanted to take him for a sack tonight. I got burned on the sack last week with your boy from the Rams, and so I didn't do it this week. I should have took Burns for a sack, man. He's been one of the best players in the league this year. Anyway, look at the Giants coming out with a little bit of juice, man. Get you a touchdown, come out, get a 3 and out. Look at the Giants. So Jaquan Brisker is one of their best defensive players at the safety position. He's got a quad, so we'll keep a watchful eye on that. Until these guys don't actually come out and practice. Okay, nice little return by Gunnar Olszewski. That's 2 good returns by him. Until these guys actually aren't practicing on days where there's actual practice, I'm going to continue to assume that these guys are going to be able to go, right? But Brisker is a big deal. Grady Jarrett is a big deal. The rookie running back Kyle Monangai isn't as big of a deal, but he is their second guy up. When they take what's my guy's name from the Swift, DeAndre Swift out of the game, usually Kyle Monangai is the guy that they bring in. So it is impactful from that standpoint, but he's not a real needle mover per se. So I'm not really, checking for him as much. But Darnell Wright, Grady Jarrett, and Jaquan Brisker are all guys that are impactful starters for this Bears football team. And if they can't go, that's a problem. Kyler Gordon, limited with a hamstring. I got to assume that if he's limited, or they would have had practice, he would have been limited, that he's trending towards going. But that's another big guy, especially when you're already down your best corner, right? They don't have Jalen Johnson. He's on IR, so you can't afford to not have. Keely Ringo really stinks. Like, he didn't even touch him. I thought he was going to try to, punch the ball out. I thought he was going to try to punch the ball out once he was down. And he didn't even do anything. He just got beat and didn't do anything. Didn't touch him, didn't do nothing. But let LB tell it, this defense, man, this defense is so good. Jackson Dart about to have a career night on these bums. Let them tell it, though. This defense is awesome. We're going to find out tonight. Because the Giants they ain't done nothing offensively against nobody with Dart in the lineup. They moved the ball better, right? But they scored 21 points against the Chargers, and then what they scored last week against the Saints, 18, whatever the number was. You're not supposed to be out here giving up whatever they finna give up tonight. So they might have got off to a slow start, and they may tighten up, and they might not end up scoring a bunch of points tonight. But right now, Dart moving the rock on these boys, and he not scared. And you're down your best defender. Take off and run, bro. What you doing? Open. Broken tackle. Score a touchdown. Score a touchdown. Score a touchdown. Score a touchdown. These boys cheats. But they defense good, though. But they defense, that's what they told me. They defense good. Oh, okay. All right. Sure, you're right. But your defense good, though. Okay. That's what you told me. At least that's what you said. Your defense was good. Okay. All right. Word. Word. So, looking at this list, three out of the four guys are look, and he missed the extra point. He almost missed the first one. I'm not surprised he missed the second one. He almost missed the first one. What they need to do on his extra points, and I don't know if they're already doing this, they need to move him over to the left hash because all of his kicks are tailing to the right. So don't put it in the middle because he's already kicking the ball and it's tailing to the right. Let's see if they make the adjustment. If he's not already on the left, he might already be on the left hash. Anyway, 13-3. G-Man. Love it. Colston Loveland, the tight end, the rookie tight end out of Michigan, did not play prior to the bye week against the Raiders. So that's one to keep an eye on. Again, most of these guys that are limited, I'm just going to assume they're going to play until otherwise notified. But those three guys that are limited, Kyler Gordon, Jonah Jackson, and Colston Loveland are all big-time players for the Bears. So, again, if those guys can't go, they've got quite a few injuries that will affect them on the field. But, again, I expect everybody from the limited all the way down to play on Monday night. And with that extra day, I'm assuming that some of these DMPs are going to play as well, right? So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to in other news, and let's talk about what was said at the press conferences today of the two coordinators. We'll start with our offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury. So Cliff Kingsbury started off his press conference talking about Bill because we know that's the hot topic right now. Everybody wants a piece of Bill, and he is kind of taking the NFL by storm right now. FedEx Air and Ground Player of the Week, Pepsi Offensive Rookie of the Week. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about him on various national programs. The fantasy football crowd is really, really giving him love right now. And the media is eating it up. It's Bill mania all over again. So he started off by talking about Bill and, you know, what they really see in him and what they love about him. But he continues to not like go all in on praise on Bill. Like, I guess Cliff is the one guy that's keeping him humble, so to speak, because every time they ask Cliff about Bill, he talks about how dynamic he is with the ball in his hand, but but Cliff is always quick to say, but he's still got a lot of work to do without the ball in his hands. He's got to be better in protection. He's got to be better running routes. He's got to be better, you know, as a lead blocker when he's in there and he's got to block for someone. Like, he's got to be better overall in that department. And so he doesn't give him the credit, right, that we all are giving him, but that's because we just want him to have the football, you know. And if you're going to be a complete back, which is what they're trying to get him to be, if you're going to be a complete back, you have to do all of those things. You have to catch the ball out of the backfield. Did he step out of bounds? No, right? Why are they showing this again like he stepped out or something? You have to catch the ball. You have to pass protect. You have to know your assignments. And these are things he's continuing to get better at. And Cliff did acknowledge he's getting better, but he also said he's still got a long way to go. So there's that. Incomplete. Okay, I like it. He talked about Jaden's performance on Sunday, and he, you know, talked about Jaden being back, doing a great job protecting himself, you know, taking what the defense was giving him, you know, being smart with the football, which is something Jaden has done all season long. And, you know, he really complimentary of what Jaden was able to do in his first game back from the injury. He talked about Chris Paul. I thought this was a really interesting conversation because he was the one that really shed a lot of light. It wasn't DQ that shed any light on the Brandon Coleman situation. It was really Cliff. So I was really interested to see how he felt about the play, good throw, good catch, the play of Chris Paul. And what, you know, I don't think he was going to give us too much as to what's going to happen. That the media keeps trying to get out of DQ and Cliff. Well, what's going to happen when Cosme comes back? Like, Cosme has no impact nor bearing on the left guard position. Sam Cosme is our starting right guard. All it means is Andrew Wiley goes to the bench. That is it. That is all. Like, they keep trying to make it competition now. Are you going to take Wiley out, or are you going to put him in at left guard? No. Chris Paul's fine, right? And he basically said, like, Chris Paul has transformed his body. He said he's in tremendous shape, which we all can see. Like, he's doing things that he couldn't do a year ago, right? So his athleticism, which is one of the traits that he lacks, which is one of the reasons why I didn't think he would necessarily ever be a starter in the NFL. Wide open. You see how much time he had? You can't give Hurts that much time. You can't give him that much time. The athleticism has seen an uptick. Like, I talked about him pulling in the game against the Chargers and getting out to the perimeter, and he was one of the key blocks on that first Bill run for the touchdown. And you just want to see him continue to progress. But Chris Paul has been really good. He's held his own. And right now, it feels like Brandon Coleman isn't getting his spot back. And Andrew Wiley is going straight to the bench once Cosme gets here. But he talked about Chris Paul very glowingly, like, yo, he's done everything we asked him to do, and he's taken advantage of this opportunity, and we couldn't be more excited for what he's done. And I don't see that changing once Cosme comes back. And again, I don't think Cosme has any bearing on what they do at left guard. Luke McCaffrey, he was asked about, and he talked about Luke and he talked about him getting better as a route runner, him being a great teammate. He talked about the effort that he has when he blocks. And he's like, he put in the work. And we saw that Luke put in the work, whether it was in the weight room, whether it's being able to get the granular details of being a wide receiver, route running, things of that nature. He's so much more detailed. He talked about him being a competitor, which DQ always points out when it comes to him and Debo in particular at the receiver position. He always talks about those guys being competitors. So he talked about Debo, and he said the biggest thing that Debo has done for them is he's given them versatility. Debo's ability to line up all over the formation and be able to. He talked about his competitiveness, which DQ always talks about Debo and competitiveness. And he said the competitiveness that he's seen from Debo is unlike any other player on offense that he's seen. He says because he's just so physical with the ball in his hands. And we talked about that yesterday. Like, I know I brought this up. I might have brought it up the day before yesterday, but another Goddard touchdown. I mean, and that shit was the same play they did last week. Like, they didn't even change it up. That didn't fool anybody. They just didn't get it done. Debo, you give him a 2-yard pass and it's a 6-yard gain. You throw him a hitch and it's a 6-yard gain. It's just a remarkable what he's able to do with the ball in his hands. And he talked about Debo on kickoffs, Debo on, at receiver inside, Debo outside, Debo in the backfield. There's just so many things they can do with him, and he's a weapon for them. So he talked about his versatility as something that has been really big for them. He talked about Josh Connolly Jr. He was asked about Josh Connolly Jr. and, his growth. And he's like, I think what we also forget, I know I'm guilty of this. You forget how young he is, right? Josh Connolly Jr. is one of the youngest players in the NFL. Like, he's super young. And while he's young, he got baptism by fire in the first, 3 weeks of the season with the games being, what they were, and the opponents that he had to face in particular being what they were: Burns, and then Parsons, and then Crosby. It's just was like one after another. Finally caught a break against the Falcons. And then this week against the Chargers, there wasn't anybody there that was going to really threaten him. He gave up a couple of pressures, but nothing to write home about, nothing Jaden couldn't just step up and extend off of. So we didn't call his name at all. And he said he's continuing to develop. He's continuing to grow and get better each and every single week. And he said there's still going to be some more bumps on the road. Obviously, he's going to see some elite edge rushers, whether it's a Jonathan Grenard against the Vikings later in the season, Aiden Hutchinson against the Lions, right? A guy like George Karlaftis might give him some issues in Kansas City. Like, he's still going to see some more guys that can provide some issues for him. But ultimately, he's gotten better. And this is what they expect him to do. This is what we expect him to do: continue to grow as a tackle. And there will be more growing pains. They're not done. But ultimately, he'll continue to get better and grow from those experiences. And we expect him to be the bookend, the other end of the bookend tackles that we have set up for Jaden Daniels for the next, 5 to 7 years, with Laramie Tunsil on the other side. He talked about the other running backs. He was asked specifically about J-Mac and C-Rod, and he basically said what DQ said. Like, these guys are models of consistency. We know what we're going to get out of them. You feel confident that when you put them on the field, this is what you expect and this is what you're going to get. And there is a comfort as a coach in knowing that I'm going to ask this guy to do this and he's going to go out and he's going to execute. These guys play special teams. They do everything. So he talked about them also having an impact on Bill, right, and in that room as well. So then he talked about the Bears defense, and he basically highlighted the fact that they're the number 1 third down defense in football, and they force turnovers. And so he talked about those two things in particular, which we'll talk about here in a bit. He talked about the offensive improvement and the best offensive improvement from this team this season through 5 games and what that has been. And for him, he said it's the physicality in the run game. The physicality in the run game for him is something that he has been super impressed with, and he wants to continue to see them use that run game, lean on that run game. He loved that. Who didn't love that 99 and a half, 12 play, 6-minute drive that put the game away against, the Chargers? And he referenced that drive as, the other team knows you're going to run the football, still can't do anything to stop you. That is a powerful feeling. And he feels like we're in sort of a zone right now running the football. And he loves the physicality that we're playing with up front. We all do. So he wants to see that continue. Then he was asked conversely about pass blocking. Like, you just referenced the run blocking. What do you feel about the pass blocking? And he's like, it's been solid. It's been good. We're going to continue to strive to be better in that department. I really feel like the pass blocking has been solid this season. There's been, pockets where it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all versus the Packers, right? That was the one game that kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. They were fine against the Giants. They were fine against the Raiders. They were fine against the Falcons, and they were damn near dominant against the Chargers. He really didn't have to do too much running around or elude too much pressure. So really feel like the pass blocking has been really solid this season. So he thinks that the pass blocking is something that can continue to get better, but it's solid, right? So that was Cliff's press conference. The next one, he got the wind knocked out of him. Is Joe Witt Jr.'s press conference. It's probably going to be the last play of the first quarter, pending an incomplete pass. If it's incomplete, then you're going to get the punt here on, or a penalty, which will stop the clock. See what they do on this 3rd and 10. It's a big one because the Eagles just went down, stole the momentum. Not going to get the first down. Got a punt. So we'll see that punt on the other side of the quarter. So Joe Witt Jr. started off his press conference, as he always does, with a synopsis of what happened in the game prior. And then he, highlights some guys that stood out. And then he previews the upcoming game. And then he opens the floor to questions. So he started off by saying he was proud of the defense after the slow start for rallying back, not giving up any points after the first quarter. He highlighted the fact that we had no defensive penalties, which I didn't even realize. I ain't even going to hold you. Until he said that, I was like, interesting. No defensive penalties in the game for the Commanders. He said we didn't have any defensive penalties against the Raiders either. Didn't realize that either. So, it's easy to lose sight of these things when you're watching a game. But we didn't have any defensive penalties, he said. He said we had 21 turnbacks, which we didn't have very many of them last week against the Falcons. We had a bunch of them, like 24 of them against the Raiders 2 weeks ago. So he was like, anything over 20 is a very positive number that you should be excited about. So we were definitely affecting the line of scrimmage against the Chargers. He highlighted JK, DA, Johnny, Trey, and Bobby as guys that graded out very highly in this game. No surprises really there. Bobby was the leading tackler with 14. Trey Amos continues to be a star on the opposite side of Marshawn Lattimore. Johnny Newton continues to grow every single week. He really talked about Johnny during his press conference. We'll talk about what he said. But Johnny obviously had the big deflection. But Johnny's been really good this season. He's one of those guys that we don't talk about a lot because he's not getting those flashy splash plays. But Johnny Newton has impacted games with his play when he's been on the field. And then, of course, JK, I told you I thought this was his best performance of his short Washington career to this point. It's right up there with what he did in week 1 versus the Giants. I think this superseded it. And then DA, obviously, with the 2 sacks and just, him being stout against the run and everything that he does. So he talked about Ben Johnson as he went on to previewing the Chicago Bears. He said Ben Johnson's going to test us. He's a really good play caller. He's a guy that's going to bring some trick plays into the fold, which we know that's a staple of Ben Johnson offenses. He's going to have at least one sort of razzle dazzle, gimmicky play, as Joe Witt called it, and he had to catch himself because he didn't want to throw that out there and give them any bulletin board material. So he kind of cleaned that up. Was like not gimmicky, but he's going to have some sort of trick plays, test your eye discipline, and he is so spot on about that. The eye discipline is going to have to be on point this week because we can't have guys getting wide open and running around uncovered, because he's going to throw different route combinations, different things at us, and we got to be ready. And if we're not, Caleb will have open targets to get the football to, and it could be a long day for this defense if we can't get to the quarterback. He talked about Caleb Williams, and he talked about the different arm angles and slots he can throw from. He talked about him being elusive. I don't think people give Caleb Williams enough credit for his elusiveness and how fast he is. Like, he can move. Caleb Williams can run. Caleb Williams is slippery. Caleb Williams has escapability. He's one of the most slippery quarterbacks. Him and Baker Mayfield are two dudes that are just hard to sack because they bounce around the pocket. They have this, kind of a thicker frame. They're hard to get down. They got that low center of gravity because they're not taller quarterbacks. They're two guys that are really hard to get on the ground. And the Eagles offense, for real, the Eagles offense is trash for real. Kevin Patullo really stinks. This is fun. This is fun watching their offense. When Jalen Hurts doesn't have 15 seconds to throw the football, if you take away his first read and it ain't one-on-one down the field where he can just throw it deep, he'll hold on to it. That's why he don't throw no picks, because he'll end up being one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league, because he usually is every year, because either he's getting protected for 15 seconds or he's holding on to the ball and he's not going to put it in. After that one season where he threw all those picks, he told himself, I'm not throwing the ball into harm's way. So he don't put the ball in. He'll take a sack before he throw a pick. Big third down for the Giants defensively. Got to get off the field here. You need to steal the momentum back. So, and he talked about all the receivers that they have at their disposal. We know the Bears are loaded with weapons between the two tight ends, right? You've got OZ, who he talked about as, they know OZ very well, obviously, and OZ's been huge for them. Like, they're going to him on third downs religiously. So, like, he's a big part of their offense. Caleb clearly trusts him, and OZ's been really big for them thus far. Giants trying to get some pressure. They don't. Wide open, big gain, first down. Yeah, they about to go. They about to turn back into a pumpkin. I think the Giants about to turn back. It was fun while it lasted, though. They about to turn back into a pumpkin. They should have blitzed right there. Like, they act like they was coming with some pressure. They didn't, and then, that's too easy. Way too easy. He talked about the trick plays, something you gotta prepare for against the Bears. You really do. They do something every week that's uncommon. Another catch. And he talked about the switch vertical route that was open again. We got to clean this up, man. Remember, I talked about this with you guys that they had Amari Hampton streaking down the sideline wide open, and we got to Herbert, and so he couldn't get that football to him. But if he had time, it would have been a touchdown. And he said it's the same route. Like, how many times are you going to get beat by the same route? He said it was the same route that Green Bay got us on. It's the same route that the Raiders tried to get us on, and they would have gotten us if Revo didn't tell Noah Igbenogany to go over there. Look at how much time Hurts has. Like I told you, just all day. Look at that. All day. You have to get to him. If you give him all day, he's going to stand back there. He's not going to do anything stupid with the football, and eventually somebody's going to be open. Guys can't cover for that long. That's ridiculous. So he's like, I don't know what is going on. He said the same switch vertical play. They got to fix that, man. They got to fix that. Because, again, That's another wide open receiver on that same play. And we're going to keep seeing it until we stop it. We really haven't stopped it yet. We really have not stopped that play yet. He talked about the defense playing better in Sunday's game. Obviously, they were terrible the week before. And he said what they did was they played a lot more zone in this game, kind of kept everything in front of them. And I've said this team isn't good at zone or man, but if you're going to stink at one or the other, I'd much rather stink in zone coverage where you at least have your eyes on the quarterback. When you're in man coverage and you're getting cooked, you're going to give up quarterback runs. You're going to still get beat. Like, there's no upside. At least if I'm looking at the quarterback and we stink in zone coverage, you still could catch a quarterback's lacking, like Mikey did last week against the Falcons. Like, we stink in zone coverage. You just caught the quarterback lacking. He probably saw Mikey and thought he could get the ball over him. And you can catch a quarterback lacking and get one. You in man, it ain't nothing you're going to be able to do about it. You either got to be really good in man coverage or you're going to get cooked. So I'd rather play zone. And I've already told you the best teams play zone defense. He talked about different techniques this year being utilized. In particular, he talked about Daron Payne and why he's been better this season. He said Daron Payne, he gave credit to Daryl Tapp and the defensive staff for being open to making wholesale changes, because he said they changed everything up this season. And he said they're using different techniques. Basically, what I think is they're no longer having Daron Payne two gap like they have been in the past. They're having him, not the aggressive one gap penetration we saw last year at the beginning of the season when we were just getting trapped to death and run right up the middle. But they're allowing him to be aggressive and get up, him and JK to be aggressive and get up the field. And so you're seeing them do that this season, and it's playing to Daron's strength. That's what Daron was supposed to be coming out of Alabama, a guy that could penetrate, get into the backfield. Even though at Alabama he was a two-gapper, because that's what they use their defensive linemen to do. But ultimately, Daron has, and have y'all seen the mic'd up, Daron Payne mic'd up? They put out, I think they put that out today, if I'm not mistaken. This looks like a quarterback draw. He about to take off and run. Nope. Nah, that ain't gonna work. Good job. Just put Saquon in the game and run it in so I can get my touchdown, please. What are we doing here? Don't push me. Don't do none of that foolishness. Just put Saquon in the game. Oh, they did have him in the game. He didn't. Oh, that was Saquon he was throwing it to. Okay, never mind. Never mind. I don't care how you get the touchdown. I just need my Saquon anytime touchdown. Just hand it to him, man. Lord have mercy. Here go the stinking tush push. They're going to do this twice. Or you're going to hand it to Saquon this time, like you did last time. Nope. Now you got to do it one more time because you're short. He's short. And you're going to do it again. I hate that play. I really do. He talked about Johnny Newton, and this was some glowing praise for Johnny Newton. He said that Johnny Newton is finally the guy that they drafted him to be out of Illinois. Like, he is healthy. He's not thinking as much. He's just going out and he's playing football. And he's been extremely productive, disruptive up front. They love the way he's playing with violent hands. They love his athleticism. And they feel like he's been everything that they wanted him to be last year in his second year. So he's like, Johnny has been playing exceptionally well. They love what they're getting from Johnny Newton. And, he's starting to make plays, right? That batted ball was a huge play in the game, obviously. Helped us seal the deal. And, Johnny's had some plays where I'm like, man, Johnny is sniffing out screens. Johnny is in the backfield. He might not make the tackle, but Johnny is finding ways to impact the football game and is not necessarily always on the stat sheet. So he was asked about the tackling, and he was like, no, the tackling can improve. He was like, the tackling hasn't been great this season. And it wasn't great in the game. Obviously, we missed some tackles. Like, shit, Jordan McGee missed about 3 by his damn self. We were just excited to see him running around out there. And then there's the tush push. Hey, man, I don't know. Yeah, they gave it to him. I was about to say, I don't know. So, he said the tackling can improve, and I agree. It could be better, but I didn't think the tackling was terrible this week. He said what he does love is the fact that the tackling, while it isn't the crispest and sharpest, he said when the first guy misses, he loves the fact that there's 2 or 3 other guys ready to clean it up. And that's what you want, a bunch of guys flying to the football. So he talked about consistency, and that's something that he wants to see. They asked, I think it was Candy who asked him about October football and what he's looking for in the month of October. Did they really just run another tush push? Like, that's crazy. They ran it 3 times in a row. They so I hate this. Oh, the Eagles are so dookie. They so dookie. This is garbage. It might as well be 1976. This is horrible. That's why. And they're going to do it again. Like, to me, that shows you have no confidence in, your ability to do like regular stuff. Like, literally, you had to tush push the ball in from the 4-yard line. Like, that's crazy. Eagles are so cheeks. They're so buns. Anyway, I digress. This is why you can't let them get into those situations, though. You don't like it? Stop it. The only way you stop it is to not let them get into a situation where they can use it. So he talked about consistency in the month of October. He's like, 1 week we're good, the next week we're not. 1 week we're good, the next week we're not. And he's like, we got to stop riding that roller coaster, and we got to start being good every single week. So he wants to see consistency from this football team. Bobby Wagner. He gave Bobby Wagner some love. Candy Waller also asked him about Bobby Wagner. And he just said he's a quarterback of the defense. He's a coach on the field. And he said if there's any ball carrier within the tackle box, tackle to tackle radius, Bobby's going to make the tackle, which is pretty much spot on. He had led the team in tackles. Every year he's among the league leaders in tackles. He's going to be up there again this year, assuming that he stays healthy. And so Joe Witt Jr.'s job is to keep him being Bobby Wagner, out of compromising situations. Because if you do that, he's a really good football player. And he said Bobby should have had a pick. I haven't seen that play yet. So we're going to watch the film tomorrow. If you're a member of the mob, we will watch film tomorrow. I've been trying to get to the film, and I've just had so many things going on. But we will get to the film tomorrow. So I want to see the play that he's referencing, because I don't recall a play where Bobby had a chance at a pick. And he made it seem like Herbert made a bad throw and it saved him from throwing a pick to Bobby. So, I want to see what that looks like. But he talked about Trey Amos, and he basically was like, the dude's been a beast ever since he showed up here. Like, he's like, there's not anything he can't do. He's like, they don't even target him on most weeks, and he said if he does give something up, he makes a quick tackle and he moves on to the next play and it doesn't affect him. But like, he's been very complimentary of Trey Amos pretty much the entire offseason into the regular season. And it's been warranted, because that kid has been fantastic for us. Keeps it nice and quiet on his side of the field most weeks. Jordan McGee, he was asked about. And he basically didn't commit to Jordan McGee playing a bunch of snaps moving forward, which is what I wanted him to. Like, I wanted him to hit me with the Revo, like, hey, it's gonna be hard for us to keep him off the field. That's what I was looking for. I wanted him to say that. He did not say that. What he did say though is, you know, we can't take Oos and B-Wags off the field. It's just unfortunate. He can't get on the field because we got two really good linebackers in front of him. But, you know, when we get 12 and 13 personnel, we're going to put them on the field. And we got a lot of it with the Chargers, and we're going to get more of it. The Bears play a lot of 12 personnel. They have two tight ends that they really like. They like to keep those guys on the field. So he basically said he's going to get some run this week. Can't guarantee you that it's going to be like that every week, but it is going to be, you know, dependent upon the opponent, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, we'll see what happens with him moving forward. He was asked about DA and what he, you know, thinks of Dorrance Armstrong and him outside of the sacks. What has he done well? He's like, DA plays the run. He's a complete player. But Joe Whitman's saying this since last year. He loves Dorrance Armstrong. He loved Dorrance Armstrong last year. He is a massive Dorrance Armstrong fan. And so, you know, I don't expect anything less from him in that department. You talked about the second and long defense. I really am glad he's acknowledging the fact that we have an issue on second and long. Here's what I don't. This was the only thing that he said in his press conference that I did not agree with. He tried to chalk up the second and long defense to not having. It's not a scheme issue. It's just, you know, and then he listed like we didn't get pressure on the quarterback. You know, we get beat in man coverage. No. It's not any of that. We playing zone. Like, don't tell me it's not scheme. And I wish somebody would have brought it up. Like, bro, like you didn't fix it against the Chargers. You got bailed out by penalties. You gave up several second and longs in that game. And luckily enough for you, the Chargers had penalties that allowed you to not have to incur the damages from those big gains on second and long. Like, that's not man coverage. That's not a lot. Well, it ain't the best pressure on those situations, but you're not getting it done on second and long as a play caller. You got to be better. Those zone coverages that you're calling, there are massive holes in that zone. Guys are sitting out, and then they're getting yards after the catch. It's bad enough. They catching the ball on 2nd and 16 at the sticks. They turning up the field and running for an additional 5, 6, 7 yards. It's ridiculous. So I disagree with him there. But he did say, look, we've been good on first down, which we have. And up until 2 weeks ago, we were the best on third downs. Last 2 weeks, not so much, right? Not so much. Last 2 weeks, we gave up over 50% on third downs. We got to clean it up. We got to clean. And he said we were number one on third downs, and now we in the teens. It happens quick. 250% days on third downs against two opponents, and voila, you probably like we'll see tonight, 11 or 12, somewhere in that neighborhood, I believe. And then he talked about running the ball against us, and he didn't necessarily acknowledge the fact that we have issues stopping the run on the perimeter, but he didn't say we didn't have an issue, right? He by omission, he acknowledged the fact that our run defense off the edges hasn't been the best. He talked about like quarterback runs, jet sweeps to the running backs and to the receivers. That's what he kind of highlighted as plays that have hurt us in the run game. He said you can't really run between the tackles against us. I agree. I've been saying that all season long. I felt that way. So we're on the same page there. But we got to be better defending the edges, he said, which we do. I agree with that as well. So that was Joe Witt Jr. and his press conference. So we'll get a word from one of our sponsors. We'll come back on the other side, and we will go behind enemy lines. Let's get a word from Sleeper. Sleeper is the best way to experience and connect over sports together. It's a one-stop shop for all of your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat in the games in real time with other users, get the fastest scores, blazing fast news and alerts right at your fingertips. Play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports the way they were meant to, together. Download the #1 sports app today. Predict the hottest football stats like passing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and much more to cash in on your daily fantasy football skills. Use promo code LTN and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Sleeper. Let's go behind enemy lines and talk about this matchup versus the Bears. What are some of the things that they do? Okay, Quinyon on the sideline. What's going on there? He looked mighty comfortable with a skull cap on. He don't look like he coming back in the game at all. He can't have a concussion. I about to say, we got a concussion. He wouldn't be standing on the sideline if he had a concussion. It's got to be something lower extremity. I don't know because I don't have the sound on. I'm just watching the game. I don't have the sound on, but it's got to be something with his leg. He wouldn't be out there if it was like a head or neck type of deal. Okay, I see it in the comment section. Hamstring. Okay, that makes sense. I knew it had to be something lower extremity because he's standing out there watching the game. That's a big loss for them. They already stunk on defense. You better give him the first down. Okay, I'm about to say you better stop playing with me. Get that man that first down. Good catch, Jalen. Good catch, man. I didn't know you could do that. He got the first down. Another catch for Jalen Hyatt. Hey, how about that? 2 in a row. Hey, the Giants gonna fight these boys tooth and nail. They're gonna win. The Eagles gonna win this game, but they gonna have to struggle for this. If this don't prove that the Eagles are not last year's Eagles, and look, they get mad at me. They don't like to hear the truth from me, right? They want me to kowtow to them and kiss their ass and tell them how good they are. You're not. You're not. And this is further proof. The Giants are normally food for the Eagles. Food, I tell you. This is normally some 34-13 activity. They are struggling with these boys. They just ran 4 tush pushes in a row because they can't actually run a functional offense. And their defense is getting shredded. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to behind enemy lines. And the Commanders are 4.5-point favorites in this game. Vegas is telling you that they expect the Commanders to win this game. As do I. I'm not going to hold you. We're the better team. And this is one of those situations that I've told you all season. If you are who you say you are, prove it. We're the better team. They have more talent than we do. They're not better coached, and they're not the better team. They don't have the better quarterback, and they're not the better defense. So go out, execute, do the things you're supposed to do, and don't leave it to chance. I pray that Sean Hockley is not calling this game. I pray nothing good comes of a game that he is the head official of for us. I pray if it's anybody else, we're going to be just fine. We're going to be just fine. As a matter of fact, I think that information is actually already up on the site. Let me see if I can find out who the head referee is going to be in this game. Head referee. No, they don't have it up here. It's not on the site. I thought they had that information on the site, but they don't. I mean, you can find that information out, but it's not here. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to some numbers. So Commanders, total offense, 13th in the NFL, 350 yards per game, roughly. Scoring offense, 8th in the league after a very slow start the first 2 weeks, 18 versus Green Bay, week 1, 21 against the Giants. We've ratcheted it up over the last 3 weeks, no less than 27 points each of the last 3 weeks. Obviously, the big explosion against the Raiders in week 3, 41. And then 27 each of the last 2 weeks. So we're now averaging 28.2 points per game. That's more like it. That's where I expect us to be moving forward. And I think we can be one of the most high-scoring teams in the NFL. Run, brother. Run. Get out of there. Good job. Get out of bounds. Get out of bounds. Y'all won't give me 15 for that? I'm look, man. I'm just joshing. You don't gotta give me 15 for that, man. Good job, Jackson. I'd like you to make that decision a little bit quicker next time, though. Passing offense, 23rd. It leaves a lot to be desired at 192.6 yards per game. Again, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Jaden Daniels wasn't in the lineup. Not to, again, no disrespect or no knock to Marcus Mariota, but the passing yards just aren't going to be as prolific when he's out there as it is when Jaden's out there. And also, you got the #1 rushing attack in the NFL. So that's also going to take away some of the yards that you have through the air, right? Speaking of which, 156.4 yards per game, #1 in the league rush offense-wise. Sacks allowed, tied for 18th with 11. Feels like we haven't had our quarterback sacked. I shouldn't say the last 2 weeks because Marcus was sacked last week against Atlanta, or a couple of weeks ago against Atlanta. But I don't think Jaden was sacked yesterday. I can't recall him running out of bounds or running towards the line of scrimmage. There may have been the first set of downs where he ran and didn't get back to the line of scrimmage or something like that, and they credited the Chargers with a sack. I don't recall him getting sacked yesterday, but anyway, I know the sack numbers were a little bit robust early in the season. The Giants got us like 2 or 3 times. The Packers got us probably like 2 or 3 times. So the numbers started to, the total started to move up a little bit early in the season. I don't think it's really been that much here of late. Third down offense, we're 29th in the league. Like both third downs, as you see, third down defense is plummeted after being #1 2 weeks ago. Both third downs on each side of the ball has to get better. It's not good enough right now. 30 less than 33% on third downs right now. Like, and in all fairness, we don't have a lot of third downs every week. We don't have a lot of third downs. In all fairness, we had 8 third downs in week 4 against Atlanta. We had 7 attempts last week against the Chargers because we're very efficient on first and second down. So when you're converting first downs on first downs on second down, you're keeping yourself out of third down situations, which we've done a lot this season. And then when we are in third down, it feels like it's third and forever, right? 3rd and 16, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 11, because we've made a mistake somewhere along the way. But whatever the case may be, we just haven't done a good enough job converting on third downs. Most of it is self-inflicted. 3rd and 1, you got to give the ball to Cam Scatterbo here. I would give it to him twice. We're not kicking a field goal here. Not interested. You're not going to field goal the Eagles to death. Quarterback sneak. Jackson Dart gets the first down. Good. I would have just given it to Cam Scatterbo, especially with no Jalen Carter in the middle of that defense. But Jordan Davis is still a big enough force that you don't necessarily want to turn around and have to hand that thing off. Now you got to go get 7. Eagles trying to call timeouts to preserve clock for them on the other side. Now they have no timeouts remaining. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if you ran it here and got stopped, bleed that puppy down, and then you score. Like, you don't care when you score. Like, you're not gonna purposefully not score so you can run down clock. You don't know what happens in this league. You want your touchdown whenever you can get it, but I would run it here. I would not throw the ball here if I were the Giants. I would run it here, and if I score, great, cool. If I don't, the Eagles won't see this ball with a chance to do anything other than take a knee. They don't have any timeouts. They're not an explosive offense. So I would run the ball here. You also, this is the best down to catch them off guard because they're probably thinking that you're going to run the ball here. This is the best down to play action, fake them, and throw the ball to the tight end or the fullback in the flats if you're going to do it. Good play. Figured they would go play action fake there. That's the best down to do it. Now run the ball, okay? Now run the ball. Don't throw it 3 times and give the Eagles a minute and 12 seconds to try and go get a field goal. They really throwing the ball to little Jordan Humphrey, bro. Like, I mean, I get it. Bad Dog told us that their entire receiving core is banged up and there's nobody out there, but good gracious. They really force feeding the ball to a little. This is definitely a run. The Cam Scatterbo. They spread them out and run that bad boy. Spread them out and run that bad boy. That's definitely a run. Saw that one coming. All right, Giants back on top. Now here's the problem. You didn't do what I told you to do. So now the Eagles have a minute 19 left. Plenty of time without timeouts to go back down the field and get a field goal and tie this thing up at half, which is what I expect them to do now. But we got ourselves a ball game, folks. We got ourselves a ball. I told you, the Eagles going to struggle with these bums now. Eagles going to struggle now because they done gave them the one thing you couldn't afford to give them, confidence. Now they think they can win the game. They won't win, but now they think they can. Look at those two guys executing some ghetto-ness in the end zone. Don't you just love it? I hope they beat the Eagles. Oh, my God, it would be so awesome. Anyway, so the Commanders' third down offense stinks right now. It'll as the season progresses, they'll get better on third downs. I have total confidence that they will. Total defense, they're 24th in the league right now at 352 yards per game. That game against Atlanta really hurt, right? Like, that to me, the 352 yards isn't totally indicative of what this defense has been this season from a yards perspective, but they've given up yards in just about every game except for the Giants game. When you think about it, they gave up yards to Green Bay. Even in the blowout over the Raiders, they gave up yards. Geno Smith threw for almost 300 yards, right? So they gave up yards in that game. They were shredded against the Falcons last week, over 400 yards of total offense. And then the Chargers game this past Sunday, that was one of their better defensive performances up there with the Giants game. They weren't able to run it super effectively, and Herbert only threw for 166 yards. So, and that's with the performance they just turned in, that it's 24th. Scoring defense, that's the big one there. Tied for 9th. You're a top 10 scoring defense right now, and just a shade over 20 points per game. Who would have thought this defense would be given? And I said, if you could just give up 23 points a game, we should be fine because we're going to score 28, 29, 30 points a game. We're doing our part offensively, and they're doing more than their fair share on defense at just 20 points per game. Now, again, got to see the consistency, right? Got to see the consistency, but through 5 weeks, that's a pretty good number for this defense. Passing defense, 235 yards per game, 23rd overall. So not necessarily ideal, but again, the pass defense the pass defense, I think, will continue to get better as this defense gets and Joe Witt Jr. gets more and more comfortable with what we can and can't do. Okay. So much for the Eagles trying to get points now. That was a terrible, terrible return. They still could get one big game, but you probably more likely to see. And you can't just take knees and you can't just say, well, we're just going to run the clock out. The Giants have 2 timeouts. So they're going to have to try and get a first down. And if they're able to do that, then and only then can you say, all right, let's just go to halftime. Now, you might try a screen. You might try a screen or something like that to see if you can pop something. But this feels like a Saquon run. You just start the drive off, force the Giants to call the timeout, that sort of thing. See if it can pop. Saquon run, and it pops. There you go. Now you can try to go get some points. That you couldn't allow that to happen. God, lead the Giants. Jeez Louise, brother. They try to give you a gift, and you give up a 25-yard Saquon Barkley run. Unreal. A 20-yard run. Now they're going to try to go get points. Tackle, tackle, tackle. Good job. Is this not an explosive offense? They shouldn't be able to get in the field goal range if you just tackle. Jesus. And you let them get out of bounds? Wowzers. That's some nasty work. They about to get this field goal. Sacks. We're tied for 3rd in the NFL with 15 sacks. Not 115, but 15 sacks. We talked about that. We're tied for 3rd in the league with the Los Angeles Rams. Dorrance Armstrong has been spectacular. Von Miller has been really solid. You know, it's been a collective effort. We talked about that before the season started, that the sack, we didn't think it would be a bunch of guys with a bunch of sacks, but it would be or it wouldn't be like 2 or 3 guys with a bunch of sacks. It would be a collective, like 5 guys with 6.5 sacks, that sort of thing. And then 1 or 2 guys with 7 or 8, and then 1 guy. I thought Dorrance would be your 1 double-digit sack getter. And that's kind of what it looks like right now. Dorrance is going to be the 1 guy that's going to kind of be the pace car. Von might end up with 6 or 7, and then everybody else is just kind of filling the gaps. But right now we got 15 as a team. Bobby's got, 2 or 3 of them by himself. Oos still hasn't even gotten busy yet. Throw it away. He's going to throw it away. All right, 1 more stop. And they get nothing and like it. Come on, y'all. Y'all can do it. Anything inbounds and they're cooked. Anything inbounds and they're cooked. Nah, they could get up and spike it if they get a first down. They got enough time to run up and spike it. They about to get a delay of game. I know the Giants ain't calling no timeout. What are you doing? Why would you? They're about to get a delay of game. Why would you call a timeout? You stupid idiot. This guy is incredible. What are you doing? They were about to get a delay of game. They were just as discombobulated as you were. They weren't even set. Why would you? If they give up a field goal attempt here, he should be fired tonight. They lose this game by a field goal or less, he should be fired tonight. Unbelievable. You're offsides, buddy. Back up. You're offsides. Your helmet. Thank you. Jesus. Okay, they can't get a field goal. No, don't hit them. Good job. They can't get a field goal now. They don't have enough time. They don't have enough time. They don't have enough time. You don't have enough time. You don't have enough time. Yeah, you couldn't run that. You couldn't run that and get a field goal. All right. Whoo-wee. Boy, oh boy. I tell you. We trying to coach these boys to a dub, and they trying to give it away. Russian defense, 17th in the league. And again, that number is really not indicative of what we've been this season. 117 yards per game. Again, a lot of that, like Herbert had a 41-yard run. That inflates the numbers. And we've given up some quarterback runs. We've given up wide receiver jet sweeps. And that was kind of what Joe Witt Jr. was talking about today. Some of those rushes off the edge and containing some of those. Third down defense, we went from first 2 weeks ago going into the Falcons game in week 4 to 16th in the league. We're still not giving up more than 40%, which is good, but you went from 28% just 2 weeks ago to 38% because you've given up over 50% in each of the last 2 games. Got to find a way to get off the field on third downs. Simple as that. Time of possession, we've been lousy at it all season long. And we still are 28th in the league, 27 minutes, 19 seconds per game. Yeah, we got to tighten up. And I think you'll see that happen as we get better on third downs. You'll start to see the time of possession start to shift. And hopefully the defense, because they have a part in this as well, they'll start to get better. And we'll see time of possession start to shift in the Commanders' favor. Turnover differential, I was really disappointed. I was so happy. I thought we were finally in the plus category. And then I forgot about the fumble by Bill in the game on Sunday. So we weren't able to take advantage of the 2 turnovers we forced and be able to be in the plus category. But it's all good. Let's get to the ops. So total offense, the Bears are 17th in the league at 356 yards per game. Scoring offense, they're 11th at 25.3 points per game. So they've done a solid job scoring this season. If I'm not mistaken, I think they've scored over 20 points in every single contest this year. I know they did it in week 1 against the Vikings. I know they did it in week 3 against the Cowboys. And I know they did it in week 4 against the Raiders. I'm not sure who they played. Oh, the Lions. I'm not sure if they scored over 20 points. They got beat up pretty good. I think they gave up a 50 burger. They might have scored 20. When you score 50, you really don't care what the other team scores as long as they're not, turning it into a shootout. It's really not a close game. So they probably scored over 20, my guess, like 52-24 or something like that. They probably got run in that game. But it just tells you they can score the football, right? Passing offense, 225 yards, so 226 yards per game, 14th best in the NFL. Sacks allowed, I talked about this earlier in the week, that they haven't given up a ton of sacks, only 7 this season. A lot of that is the improved offensive line, but I think the vast majority of it is Caleb Williams and his slipperiness. I can't stress this enough. Caleb Williams is one of the hardest quarterbacks to sack because if he doesn't feel like he can't get out and just lay down, he's a hard quarterback to sack. And we aren't the most athletic up front. I think about the Geno Smith game against the Raiders and how many times we should have sacked him. And because we just weren't athletic enough to bottle him up and get him on the ground, he got away and made plays. That's what Caleb Williams can do to us. And that's why I'm a little nervous, right, defensively. Rush offense, they're 24th. I told you that I didn't think their rush offense was very impactful this season. And here's the proof. 102 yards per game, 24th in the league. They're not, and a lot of that is Caleb Williams running, right? I'd say at least 30 to 35 yards of that average per game is Caleb Williams, or it's DJ Moore or something of that ilk. It's not the running game with the running backs, right? Third down offense, they're 6th in the NFL. Like, that's what I envisioned us being, right? 45%. on third downs, and that's where they are. So they're doing a great job on third downs of extending drives, right? And I think that also has helped them with time of possession and in turn helped them with third down defense. They may not be seeing as many third downs. And then when they are seeing them, they're getting off the field. But we'll get to that. Total defense, 27th in the league. Like I said, we should be able to do whatever we want to do on the offensive side of the football. I feel like if we don't do stupid stuff like we did last year, we just take care of the things that we can control the controllables. No pre-snap penalties, no drop passes, no turnovers. If we just do the things that we know we're capable of doing, we should be able to move the football up and down the field and score points in this game. This is not a great Bears defense. This is not one of the better defenses. They were better defensively last year, way better under Matt Eberflus last year than they are this year. Scoring defense, 28th. So again, kind of goes hand in hand with their total defense. They're not stopping you from getting a ton of yards, and they're not stopping you from getting in the end zone once you get down there. Again, a huge chunk of that was that Lions game, right? You give up 50, and that's going to hurt you if you've only played 4 games. But they gave up 21 points or 24 points in the fourth quarter against the Vikings and a rookie quarterback. Like, this is not a good defense. So I feel like we should be able to do what we want to do in this game. Passing defense, 17th. They're without their best defender on in the secondary, Jalen Johnson. We need to be able to take advantage of that. 215 yards per game they're giving up right now. Sacks, they're dead last in the league in sacks. They've only got 5. This is why I say they don't move the needle for me defensively. Like, yeah, they take the ball away. Yeah, they do this. Yeah, they do that. But I honestly, Geno Smith was reckless and he had to pay for it. We should be able to move the football with impunity in this game. We should be able to move the football with impunity in this game. Rushing defense, 31st in the league. They were dead last in the league heading into last week's action. They sat on a bye week, and through a miracle, the team that was 31st last week had another rough go of it. Now they're 32nd, and now the Bears are 31st. They stink against the run. So our strength is their weakness. Cliff, it's not hard. This is not hard this week, Cliff. Don't overthink it. Do the right thing. Run the football. Third down defense, they're first in the NFL, 29%, so sub 30. So they're doing a hell of a job on third downs. When they get you there, they get off. When they get you there, they get off. Time of possession, 16th at 30 minutes, 41 seconds. So they're doing a solid job there. They're right where they need to be. I bet you if that time of possession goes up another 20 seconds, they go from 16th to probably top 5. They're not that far off in the time of possession department. Not like us, where we're at 27 and some change, where you're not even close, right? Turnover differential, they're +5. And this is the thing. Caleb, he didn't turn it over last year. You can say what you want about Caleb last season. He takes sacks. He holds on to the ball too long. He's errant. His footwork is trash. He misses open receivers. Those were all real narratives last year. What you couldn't say about Caleb is he turned the ball over, because he doesn't. He does not turn the ball over very often. He doesn't fumble a ton because it's hard to sack him. And he doesn't throw a ton of interceptions. You can you can catch him slipping once in a while. Ball tips off somebody's hands. He throws, he has footwork's a little haywire. Ball sails on him right to the safety. That'll happen too. But he usually takes care of the football. They're creating turnovers, though. That's the main thing, is they're creating turnovers. I've already told you, Kevin Byard, who is a ball magnet, already has 4 interceptions. He by himself has more takeaways than our entire defense does this season. Our entire team, special teams included. He has more takeaways by himself than our entire team. They're +5 right now. We're just trying to get above water. These boys are eating good in the neighborhood. So you see why I feel confident. It all adds up, right? It all matches up. almost worst defense, rush defense in the league. We got the #1 rush defense in football, right? They give up points. We're one of the better scoring teams in the league, right? They got one of the worst scoring defenses. They got one of the worst. They don't get sacks, right? Like everything that we want is here. They don't run the ball well. Well, great. We stop the run. But we got to do the little things, and we got to take care of the things that we know we are supposed to dominate at. We have to dominate at in this game. And if we do that, and if we start fast and we get on top of these boys and we jump them early, we can do damage. This game doesn't have to be close. All right. I'll just say that this game doesn't have to be close. This game does not have to be close. It shouldn't have been close last year. It doesn't have to be close this year. But just know they're out for revenge. They're not going to come in here and lay down. Don't expect them to. We're going to have to fight for it. But if we play our game, they're not better than us. They're not better than us. I'll get to the comment section very quickly, and then I'll get out of here. Get out of your hair. Get out of your way. I apologize for talking you to death throughout the first half of this game, but I had to get this episode off. It's been a crazy day for the kid, but we got it done, and I'll let you watch this game, the second half of it, in peace. So let's get to the comment section real quick. DCJ. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. DCJ writes, that play 54 could have had an interception. He stopped on the play. If he ran through towards the sideline and not sit, it was a few plays before Zero got the interception, same drive. Okay, so I'll be looking for it when we watch the film because I didn't remember that play. I didn't remember that, but clearly Joe Witt Jr. felt like he could have had an interception. So I want to see the play because I didn't see that live. Nathan Iskoff. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Nathan Iskoff writes, touchdown. Yes, touchdown. Giants take the lead 20-17. Yes. I'm loving it. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. They fighting for their life. The Eagles fighting for their life with the Giants. I love it. Hell yeah, Nathan. Eddie Clayton, my guy, Eddie. Been a member for 36 months. Salute, who writes, bro, Lou, you might as well stream the whole game. I don't know if I feel like doing all of that. I don't want to make this episode of the nightly news longer than it's already been way longer. And then somebody that was just coming for the nightly news is going to be pissed off because half of the episode was me talking about the Giants game, right? And I did specify, and I could go back and change it, but I did specify first half of the Giants game. I had no intentions of watching the whole game with you guys. I'll be back to break it down when it's all said and done, but I'm going to let y'all watch this in peace. I'm going to watch it with the sound on so I can actually hear what the hell's going on. And I'm going to just stick around for this this opening kickoff, and then I'm going to let y'all go. Jay Willard, been a member for 49 months. Celebrate! Who writes, another thing, Bears fans been salty about this. He says, it's that it seems they always have to come to our house when we play. My wife asked me about that. Like, she's like, no, I don't think it was my wife. It was somebody else who asked me about, like, how many times straight did the Bears have to come to Washington? And it's been, what, 3 in a row now? They came in 23 with Sam Howell. They came last year, obviously, and then they coming again this year. Before that, it felt like we had gone there for 2 straight times. It always evens itself out. But yeah, this is the 3rd year in a row. So I understand their frustration with that. It's like that sometimes. It is. Especially when you play a team so often. They've played us, what, 4 years in a row now, something like that. 3 of those 4 times it's been on prime time. So, yeah. All right, let me get out of here. Bears fans are going to continue to be salty because they just don't like us. They want Caleb to be better than Jaden so bad that it's causing them to go insane, basically. So anyway, not my problem, not your problem. Let's hope that we take care of business, because Bears fans have been insufferable. They most certainly have to this point. Anyway, you guys enjoy the rest of this ball game, and I will see you guys. We will see you guys a little bit later on for the overtime show. Boy, I hope we're talking about a Giants win. Anyway, enjoy the rest of this ball game. Take care. Peace. 3rd down and 2. Let's go. He didn't catch the ball.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap. Hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20.